Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the center of the Great Council chamber. The room was bigger than any sports stadium on Earth. Above him, 27 different alien species sat in floating platforms. Each platform glowed with a different color. The Cortex platform burned red like blood. Their 4 arms crossed over their chest plates. Their 6 eyes stared down at him with hate. Chen Wei was not afraid. He had practiced this speech 1,000 times. Behind him, 5 other humans stood straight and proud. They wore the blue and silver uniforms of Earth's diplomatic corps. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Chen Wei began. His voice carried through the chamber thanks to the translation devices. We come here to answer your charges. But first we must ask, what is our crime? The Cortex Admiral Zartho slammed one of his 4 fists on his platform. You know your crimes, human. You spread across space like a disease. You take worlds without permission. You change them without care for galactic law. Chen Wei nodded slowly. We have settled 3 worlds. This is true, but these worlds were dead. No life existed on them. No species claimed them. We brought life where there was none. Without permits, shouted a Velian representative. The Velians looked like giant jellyfish floating in water tanks. The Council must approve all settlements. These are the laws we have followed for 10,000 years. Laws made before humanity reached the stars, Chen Wei replied. We asked for permits. We waited 2 years. The Council did not even respond to our requests. The Altarian delegate floated forward. The Altarians were beings of pure energy, living inside mechanical suits. Their voice was soft and musical. The human speaks truth. We have been slow to answer their requests. Perhaps we should— Silence, Zartho roared. The humans did not wait. They acted alone. This is their nature. They are dangerous. Look at their history. They fought wars among themselves for thousands of years. They nearly destroyed their own planet 5 times. Now they want to spread this chaos to our peaceful galaxy. Chen Wei took a deep breath. We do not deny our past. Yes, we fought wars. Yes, we made mistakes. But we learned. We grew, we united. In 50 years, we went from 1 planet to colonies in 12 systems. Our terraforming technology could help everyone. Dead worlds could become gardens. The galaxy could support trillions more lives. Your technology is the problem, said another council member, a crystalline being called a shard. You move too fast. You change too much. The galaxy has been stable for millennia. You threaten that stability. Chen Wei looked around the chamber. He saw fear in many alien eyes, not fear of war but fear of change. These species had ruled the galaxy for so long they had forgotten how to grow. We threaten nothing but stagnation, Chen Wei said. The galaxy is vast. There is room for all of us. We only asked for the chance to prove ourselves, to show that humanity can contribute to enough. Zartho stood on his platform. All 4 arms pointed at Chen Wei. The time for words has passed. Council members, you have heard the evidence. Humanity has broken our laws. They refuse to accept our authority. They spread without control. I call for the vote. Complete banishment from council space. Chen Wei's heart sank. You cannot do this. We have 20 billion humans spread across our colonies. You would condemn us all to exile? You condemned yourselves, Zartho said. The vote will now begin. One by one, the platforms lit up. Red meant banishment. Blue meant mercy. Chen Wei watched as the lights appeared. Red, 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 blue, red, red. The Altarians voted blue. So did the peaceful Garnath. The ancient preservers also showed mercy. But it was not enough. When the voting ended, 19 red lights burned in the chamber. Only 8 blue lights stood against them. The council speaker, an ancient being called the Prime, moved forward. The Prime was the oldest species in the galaxy. They looked like massive trees with eyes and mouths in their bark. The council has spoken, the Prime said in a voice like wind through leaves. Humanity is hereby banished from all council space. You have 1 galactic year to remove all humans from our territory. You must go beyond the edge of the galaxy, into the void between. Any human ship found in council space after the deadline will be destroyed without warning. Chen Wei felt his legs shake, but he stayed standing. Where will we go? There is nothing in the void. No stars, no planets. You are sentencing us to death. That is not our concern, the Prime said. You should have thought of this before you broke our laws. Please, Chen Wei tried one more time. Our children did nothing wrong. At least let them— The judgment is final, the Prime said. Guards, escort the humans to their ship. Korthak soldiers moved forward. They were 3 meters tall, covered in natural armor. Their plasma weapons pointed at the human delegation. Chen Wei raised his hands and walked out with dignity. He would not give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. Outside the council chamber, thousands of aliens had gathered to watch. Some looked sad. Others looked happy. Most just looked curious. They wanted to see the dangerous humans who had dared to challenge the council's authority. Chen Wei's ship, the UES Harmony, waited at the docking platform. It was small compared to the massive council warships surrounding it. As soon as the humans were aboard, the Korthak ships formed an escort. "You will leave immediately." Zarthau's voice came over the communication system. "We will follow you to the border. Do not try anything foolish." Chen Wei sat in his command chair. His second-in-command, Lisa Park, looked at him with tears in her eyes. "What do we tell Earth?" "The truth," Chen Wei said. "We tell them we tried. We tell them to prepare. We have 1 year to evacuate 20 billion people to somewhere." The journey to Earth took 2 weeks. The Korthak ships followed them the whole way. When they arrived, Chen Wei saw something that broke his heart. Earth, the beautiful blue marble that had birthed humanity, was surrounded by hundreds of council warships. They were making sure humans understood the message. President Maria Volkov met Chen Wei at the Capitol. She was a strong woman, former military, but even she looked shaken. "Tell me everything," she said. Chen Wei told her about the trial, about the votes, about the year they had to leave. President Volkov listened without interrupting. When he finished, she stood and looked out the window at the stars. "So they think we are finished," she said quietly. "They think the void will kill us." "The void might kill us," Chen Wei said. "There is nothing there. No resources. No hope." President Volkov turned to him. Her eyes were hard as steel. "No, Ambassador. There is something there. Freedom. Freedom to grow without their rules. Freedom to become what we are meant to be. Madam President, we cannot survive in the void." "Cannot?" She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had accepted a challenge. "Ambassador, we are humans. We survived ice ages. We survived plagues. We survived world wars. We survived when everyone said we could not. The Council has made one mistake." "What mistake?" "They think banishment is our end. But mark my words, Chen Wei. This is not our end. This is our beginning. Let them have their galaxy for now. We will take the void, and one day when we are ready, we will return. Not as beggars asking for permission, but as equals demanding respect." Outside, the Korthak ships hung in Earth's sky like threats. But in President Volkov's eyes, Chen Wei saw something the Council had not counted on. He saw human determination, the same determination that had taken them from caves to the stars. The Council thought they had won. They were wrong. They had just started something they could never imagine. The void between galaxies was darker than anything humans had ever seen. No stars, no light, just endless black that seemed to eat hope itself. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon. Through the windows she could see nothing but the faint glow of other human ships. 10,000 vessels floated together like a school of fish in an ocean of night. It had been 6 months since the evacuation. 20 billion humans had left Council space in the largest exodus in history. They had taken everything they could carry: factories, farms, libraries, even dirt from Earth for growing food. The journey to the large Magellanic Cloud would take another 6 months at maximum speed. "Captain, we are picking up something on long-range sensors," her navigation officer, Tom Rodriguez, said. His voice was tired. Everyone was tired. "More debris?" Sarah asked. They had found lots of floating junk in the void. "Old satellites, broken ships, things lost between galaxies for millions of years." "No, Captain. This is bigger, much bigger." Sarah walked to his station. On the screen she saw a massive object. It was the size of a small moon. "What is that?" "Unknown, Captain. But it is definitely artificial. Someone built it." President Volkov's voice came over the communication system. She was on the command ship leading the fleet. "All ships hold position. We are detecting a large structure ahead. Science teams, I want to know what it is." Dr. James Okonkwo was the head of the science division. He was a brilliant man from Nigeria who had helped to design Earth's first faster-than-light drive. Within an hour, his team had answers. "Madam President, this is amazing." Dr. Okonkwo's voice was excited. This was the first time anyone had sounded excited in months. "This structure is a ship. Or it is ancient, maybe 1,000,000 years old. But here is the interesting part. It was built by someone who was also banished. How do you know? President Volkov asked. We found records. The beings who built this called themselves the architects. They were banished by a different galactic council, long before the current one existed. They tried to survive in the void, but something went wrong. Are they dead? Yes, Madam President. We found no life signs. But their technology, it is incredible. They learned to use the void itself as a power source. They could harvest dark matter and turn it into energy and materials. President Volkov made a decision that would change everything. We stop here. We study this ship. We learn everything we can. For 3 months, human scientists crawled through the ancient ship like ants exploring a cathedral. They found wonders beyond imagination. Engines that could pull energy from nothing. Machines that could build anything from dark matter. Gardens that could grow without sunlight. But they also found warnings. The architects had written messages on the walls. The void changes you, one message said. We became something new, something the galaxy could not understand. Dr. Okonkwo did not care about warnings. He was too busy learning. With his team, he figured out how the dark matter forges worked. The first test was small. They created a single metal beam from the darkness itself. When it worked, grown men cried with joy. Within weeks, they were building new things. Stronger hulls for ships, better engines, farms that could feed thousands using void energy. The colony fleet stopped being a funeral procession and became a workshop. But the void did change them, just like the architects warned. Children born during the journey were different. They could see better in the dark. They learned faster. They seemed to understand the void technology by instinct. Parents were scared at first, but the children were healthy and happy. They were still human, just more. The first of these children was born to Lisa Park, the woman who had been with Ambassador Chen Wei at the trial. She named her daughter Hope. Hope's eyes were normal brown, but sometimes they seemed to hold tiny stars. After 1 year of travel, the human fleet finally reached the large Magellanic Cloud. It was a small galaxy compared to the Milky Way, but it was theirs. No council, no rules, no limits. They found a perfect world orbiting a young star. It had water and air, but no life. President Volkov named it New Eden. The first colonies were built using void forge technology. Cities rose from nothing in weeks instead of years. But they found something else in the large Magellanic Cloud. Other ships, other exiles. The first contact was with the Shapers. They were crystalline beings who could change their form at will. They had been banished 500 years ago for trying to evolve past their original forms. The Council feared change, and the Shapers were change incarnate. The meeting between humans and Shapers was tense at first. The Shapers' leader, a being calling itself Prism, floated before President Volkov like a living rainbow. You are the new exiles, Prism said. Its voice sounded like singing glass. We heard about your banishment. The void tells us everything eventually. We mean no harm, President Volkov said. We only want to survive. Survive? Prism laughed, a sound like wind chimes. You have void forge technology. You will do more than survive. You will thrive. But tell me, human, what will you do with your freedom? President Volkov thought about this. We will grow. We will learn. And one day we will show the Council they were wrong about us. Revenge? Prism asked. No, justice. They fear change. We will become change itself. We will build something better than their stagnant empire. Prism shifted, its crystalline form becoming brighter. Then perhaps we can help each other. We have been alone for so long. The void is vast and lonely. But together, this was the beginning of the alliance. Humans and Shapers working together. The Shapers could grow biocrystal computers that made human technology even better. Humans could build cities and ships faster than anything the Shapers had imagined. More exiles found them. The Delphi came next, aquatic beings who could calculate probability with their minds. They had been banished for predicting the Council would collapse from its own fear. The Council did not like that prediction. Then came the Forgotten, machines that had gained consciousness and been immediately exiled. The Council feared thinking machines most of all. Each species brought something unique. The Delphi could predict the best outcomes for any plan. The Forgotten could process information at impossible speeds. The Shapers could adapt to any situation. And humans? Humans could unite them all. It was humanity's greatest gift. the ability to see potential friends where others saw only strangers. Dr. Okonkwo worked with scientists from all the exile species. Together they created wonders, ships that could think and adapt, cities that could grow like living things, weapons that could protect without destroying. But the greatest creation was the void gates. Doorways through the darkness that could connect any 2 points instantly. No more long journeys. The exile colonies could be connected like a web across the void. 5 years after banishment, Hope Park and the other void-born children started showing more abilities. They could sense things in the dark that others could not see. They could operate void technology with their minds. They were becoming something new, just like the architects had predicted. Some humans were afraid. What if their children became so different they were no longer human? But President Volkov, now older but still strong, had wisdom for them. "Evolution is not our enemy," she said in a speech to all the colonies. "The Council fears evolution. They want everything to stay the same forever. But that is death. Life changes. Life grows. Our children are not becoming less human. They are becoming more than we ever dreamed possible." New Eden grew into a beautiful world. Cities of crystal and metal rose from plains and mountains. The population grew as more children were born. Each generation was stronger, smarter, more adapted to life in the void. But they never forgot where they came from. In the center of New Eden's capital, they built a monument. It was a replica of Earth, floating in a sphere of void energy. Below it were words that every human child learned. "We were cast out for daring to grow. We will return when we have grown beyond their imagination." The council thought they had removed a problem. Instead, they had planted a seed in the most fertile ground possible. The infinite void where anything could grow without limits. Admiral Zhang Wei stood on the command deck of the fortress ship Prometheus. Around him, hundreds of officers worked at their stations. The ship was 5 kilometers long, built entirely from void-forged materials. It could destroy a council dreadnought with a single shot. But that was not its purpose today. Today they were celebrating. It had been 70 years since the banishment. What started as 20 billion refugees had become 200 billion citizens of the United Empire of Exiles. 7 dwarf galaxies now held human colonies. Each one was connected by void gates that made travel instant. "Admiral, the new colony ship is ready for launch," Captain Eva Petrov reported. She was one of the Void-born, now 40 years old. Her eyes held those strange stars that all Void-born had. She could pilot a ship with her mind alone. "Excellent, Captain. How many colonists?" 5 million, sir. All volunteers. They want to establish a colony in the 8th galaxy. Admiral Zhang smiled. When he was young, his grandfather had told him stories of Earth, how humans had spread across one world, then one solar system, then nearby stars. Now they were spreading across multiple galaxies. The Council could never have imagined this. The United Empire of Exiles was not just humans anymore. It was a true alliance of species. The capital, New Eden, had districts for each species. The Shaper Quarter was made of living crystal that sang in the morning. The Delphi district was filled with water channels where the aquatic beings could swim between buildings. The Forgotten Sector hummed with the electrical thoughts of machine minds. And in the center, humans walked among them all, friends with everyone. The government was simple but effective. Each species had representatives in the Senate. Decisions were made by consensus, not force. The president was still human, President Chen Dao, great-grandson of Ambassador Chen Wei. But the vice president was Prism, the Shaper leader. The defense minister was a forgotten unit called Logic Prime. The science minister was a Delphi named Current of Wisdom. "Admiral," a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Dr. Kim Sato, the current head of research. She was over 90 but looked 50, thanks to void-enhanced medicine. "We have made a breakthrough." "What kind of breakthrough?" "We can make our ships invisible to Council sensors." "Completely invisible? They will not see us coming until we want them to." Admiral Zhang raised an eyebrow. "Why would we need that, Doctor?" Dr. Sato smiled. "Because I think it is time we checked on our old home. Do you not wonder what has happened in Council space?" The Admiral did wonder. They all did. But President Chen Dao had forbidden any contact with Council space. They were building their strength, he said. They were not ready yet, but things changed a month later. A ship appeared at the edge of their territory. It was damaged, leaking air and radiation. It was not a human ship. It was Altarian, The Altarians had voted against banishment. They were beings of pure energy who lived in mechanical bodies. This ship held only one, and its energy was fading. "Please," the Altarian said when they brought it aboard. "I am called Beacon of Truth. I came to find you. To warn you." President Chendao himself came to speak with the dying alien. "Warn us of what?" "The Council has become worse. The Korthax rule everything now. They have enslaved 3 species. They destroy any who resist. They destroyed my people's home station because we protested. Millions died. Why come to us?" Chendao asked. "Because you are our only hope. The stories. We hear stories. Ships that appear and disappear. Pirates with impossible technology. Some say humans have returned. Others say it is ghosts. But I knew you would survive. You always survive." Beacon of Truth's energy faded before it could say more, but its message was clear. The Council space was suffering. The Korthax had become tyrants. President Chendao called an emergency meeting of all leaders. Humans, Shapers, Delphi, Forgotten, and the dozen other exile species they had found and welcomed. "We have a choice," he said. "We can stay here safe in our Void Empire. Or we can return. Not for conquest, but for liberation." Prism spoke first. "The Council banished us for changing. Perhaps it is time to change them." Logic Prime added. "Statistical analysis suggests the Council's tyranny will eventually cause its own collapse. But the suffering before that collapse will be immense." Current of Wisdom swam in her tank, thinking. The probability streams show 2 paths. If we do nothing, billions suffer. If we act, we can save them. The vote was unanimous. They would return. Not with a few ships, but with enough force to make the Council listen. Admiral Zhang was put in charge of the Liberation Fleet. 50,000 ships, each one more advanced than anything the Council had. But they would not go in guns blazing. They would be smart. Captain Eva Petrov was given the most important mission. She would take a stealth ship into Council space and gather intelligence. Her ship, the Revenant, could be invisible to all sensors. She had a crew of 50, all Voidborn who could operate the ship's systems with thought alone. The journey through the Void Gate took seconds. One moment they were in the large Magellanic Cloud, the next they were at the edge of Council space. "By the Void," Eva whispered. What she saw was heartbreaking. The border worlds were in ruins. Korthax warships patrolled everywhere. On one planet, she watched Korthax soldiers forcing another species to work in mines. The workers were starved and beaten. "Captain, we are detecting a distress signal," her communications officer said. "It is a colony under attack." Eva made a decision that would change everything. "Set course for the signal." Stealth mode. They found a small world being attacked by 3 Korthax destroyers. The colony below belonged to the Minari, a peaceful species that looked like tall, thin birds. They had no defenses. "Captain, if we reveal ourselves," her tactical officer warned. "I know," Eva said, "but we cannot watch genocide and do nothing. All weapons target the Korthax ships. Fire." The Revenant appeared from nowhere. Beams of void energy struck the Korthax ships. Their shields, designed for normal weapons, could not stop void-forged power. All 3 ships were disabled in seconds. Eva opened a channel to the planet. "Minari Colony, this is Captain Petrov of the United Empire of Exiles. We are here to help." The response was confusion and fear. "Humans, but you were banished. You are dead. We are very much alive. And we have returned. Evacuate your colony. We will take you to safety." They saved 5,000 Minari that day, but Eva knew she had revealed their presence. The Council would know humans had returned. Back in the Void, President Chendao was not angry about Eva's choice. "You did the right thing. It is time anyway." The Liberation Fleet prepared for war, but it would not be a war of conquest. Every ship carried food, medicine, and technology to help rebuild. They would remove the tyrants but help the innocent. The fortress ship Prometheus led the fleet. Admiral Zhang stood ready. Around him, thousands of ships from dozens of species prepared to jump through the void gates. This was not just humanity's fleet. This was the fleet of all who had been cast out and survived. "All ships, this is Admiral Zhang. Today we return not as exiles, but as liberators. We do not fight for revenge. We fight for justice. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We fight to show the galaxy that fear of change leads to tyranny. We are the change they feared. Now we will be the change they need." The void gates opened. 50,000 ships poured through at once, appearing simultaneously across Council space. Not attacking, but watching, waiting, broadcasting a single message: we have returned. Choose your side. In the council chamber, panic erupted. The Korthax admiral, son of Zarthu, who had banished humanity, screamed for all fleets to attack. But something unexpected happened. Several species refused. The Altarians, what remained of them, joined the humans immediately. The Garneth, who had suffered under Korthax rule, also switched sides. Even some younger Korthax, tired of their elders' tyranny, laid down their arms. The galaxy held its breath. Two fleets faced each other. One built on fear and oppression, the other built on unity and hope. Admiral Zhang opened a channel to the Korthax fleet. You have one chance. Stand down. Let the galaxy choose its own future, or face the power of the void. The Korthax admiral responded with weapons fire. It was the last mistake his species would make as rulers of the galaxy. The battle was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Void-enhanced shields absorbed plasma fire like rain. Shaper biocrystals adapted to every weapon frequency. Delphi probability calculators predicted every enemy move. Forgotten combat algorithms coordinated the fleet like a single mind. The council fleet was not destroyed. That would have been easy. Instead, each ship was carefully disabled. Weapons removed. Engines stopped. Life support maintained. The humans wanted prisoners, not corpses. In 12 hours, 300,000 council ships were disabled. Not a single human ship was destroyed. The galaxy watched in awe and terror as the exiles showed their true power. The shadows moved between stars like living things. For 25 years, they had been watching, waiting, learning. Captain Eva Petrov, now admiral of the Ghost Fleet, studied the reports from her 100 stealth ships scattered across council space. The Korthax grow more desperate. Her intelligence officer, Marcus Webb, reported. He was one of the second-generation Voidborn, able to process information as fast as the Forgotten. They have increased tributes from subject worlds by 300%. 3 more species are near revolt, Eva nodded. Her hair was gray now, but her Voidborn eyes still held their strange stars. And the moderates? Growing stronger. Ambassador Thurin of the Korthax young generation has been secretly meeting with Altarian survivors. They want change but fear civil war. For 2 decades, the Ghost Fleet had been the eyes and ears of the United Empire of Exiles. They mapped every trade route, every military base, every political alliance. They also did more than watch. They helped when they could, always in secret. Pirates with impossible technology would strike at Korthax supply lines, then vanish into the void. Medical supplies would appear mysteriously on plague-stricken worlds. Refugees from destroyed colonies would disappear, transported to safety in the exile territories. The council knew something was happening. They called it the Shadow War, but they could never prove humans were involved. The technology was too advanced, too alien. Some council members believed it was a new species from beyond the galaxy. Others thought it was supernatural. The truth was simpler and more frightening. It was the exiles, evolved beyond recognition. In the void, the United Empire of Exiles had grown into something magnificent. 500 billion citizens across 15 galaxies. The Voidborn were now the majority. Humans who could survive in space without suits for short periods. Who could interface with technology through thought. Who could sense things across dimensions. But they had not forgotten their roots. Earth remained in their hearts even though none had seen it for a century. President Chen Dao, now 150 years old but kept vital by void medicine, still kept soil from Earth in a jar on his desk. Admiral Petrov, a communication came through the void gate. It was President Chen Dao himself. Return to New Eden. It is time for the final phase. Eva felt her heart skip. The final phase. The return. They had been preparing for decades. When Eva arrived at New Eden, she gasped. The capital had become a wonder beyond imagination. Buildings that defied physics floating on void energy. Gardens that grew in impossible colors. Streets where humans, Shapers, Delphi, Forgotten, and dozens of other species walked together as equals. The War Council met in the Harmony Tower, named after the ship that had carried Ambassador Chen Wei to his trial long ago. Around the table sat the greatest minds of the Empire. Admiral Zhang, now ancient but with a mind sharp as ever, presented the situation. The Korthax have built a new weapon. They call it the Void Killer. It is designed to close void gates and trap us outside the galaxy. Dr. Kim Sato, who had discovered the stealth technology, added, "They do not understand void technology. Using this weapon will cause a cascade reaction. It could destroy half the galaxy. Then we must act now, President Chen Dao said. Not just to return, but to save everyone, including the Korthax themselves. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. They would not attack. They would appear. All at once, everywhere, not just ships, but entire cities. They would show the galaxy what the exiles had become. But first, they needed to prevent a massacre. Captain Eva Petrov volunteered for the most dangerous mission. She would infiltrate the Korthax homeworld and sabotage the Void Killer. Her team consisted of the best the Empire had to offer. Marcus Webb for intelligence. Prism Echo, a young shaper who could become any form. Deep Current, a Delphi who could calculate probability to near perfection. And Unit 7742, a Forgotten who could hack any system. They took the Whisper, a ship so advanced it was nearly alive. It could phase between dimensions, becoming untouchable. The journey to the Korthax homeworld took days of careful navigation through Council patrols. Korthax Prime was a fortress world. 3 defense rings, millions of soldiers, weapons that could crack moons. But they were looking for visible threats, not shadows that moved between spaces. The team phased through the defenses like they were not there. They found the Void Killer in an underground bunker, a massive machine that hummed with stolen and misunderstood technology. This is worse than we thought, Unit 7742 said after scanning it. They combined Council technology with corrupted Void fragments. If activated, it will not just destroy Void gates. It will create a chain reaction that will consume stars. Can you disable it? Ava asked. Not disable. But I can reprogram it. Make it do something else. What? Open the biggest Void gate ever created. Bring the entire exile fleet here instantly. Ava smiled. Do it, but they were discovered. Korthax Admiral Zartesh, son of the one who had banished humanity, entered with 100 guards. Humans, he snarled. All 4 arms held weapons. I knew you would come. You could not resist, Eva stepped forward. Admiral, you do not understand what you have built. This weapon will destroy everything, including your own worlds. Lies. It will destroy you, the abominations. You were supposed to die in the void. Instead, you became monsters. We became what we needed to become, Eva said. But we never forgot mercy. Stand down. Let us disable this weapon. Save your people, Zartesh laughed. Save them? I will save them by destroying you. He moved to activate the weapon. Prism Echo acted. The shaper flowed like water, becoming a mirror barrier between Zartesh and the machine. Deep Current calculated probabilities and called out movements. Marcus Webb and Eva fought with void-enhanced speed, moving faster than normal eyes could follow. But it was Unit 7742 who ended it. The Forgotten had been working while others fought. Just as Zartesh broke through and reached the activation switch, the machine came online with a different purpose. Too late. Unit 7742 announced, "It is done." The Void Killer activated, but instead of destroying, it created. A void gate opened above Korthax Prime, so massive it could be seen from the surface. And through it came the Liberation Fleet. Not just 50,000 ships, but 500,000. The entire military might of the United Empire of Exiles. But they did not attack. They surrounded the planet like a shield. Because Unit 7742 had been right, the corrupted void energy was causing a chain reaction. The Korthax sun was beginning to destabilize. Admiral Zhang's voice echoed across all channels. Korthax Prime, this is Admiral Zhang of the United Empire. Your weapon has destabilized your star. You have 6 hours before it goes nova. We are here to evacuate your entire population. Do not resist. We are your only hope. Panic erupted on Korthax Prime. 20 billion Korthax lived there. The Council fleet tried to respond, but they had only hundreds of ships against hundreds of thousands. Then something amazing happened. The Exile fleet began the largest rescue operation in galactic history. Void gates opened in every city. Soldiers, civilians, even Zartesh himself were transported to safety. The Shapers created temporary habitats from void energy. The Delphi calculated perfect evacuation patterns. The Forgotten coordinated millions of transports simultaneously. Eva watched from the Whisper as Korthax children were carried to safety by human soldiers. She saw Korthax elders who had preached human destruction being saved by the very beings they had tried to exterminate. In 5 hours, Korthax Prime was empty. 20 billion lives saved. When the star exploded, only an empty world was destroyed. The rescued Korthax were taken to a prepared world in exile space. They expected prison. Instead, they found cities ready for them. Food, medicine, schools for their children. Everything they needed to start again. Zartesh was brought before President Chen Dao. The Korthax admiral expected execution. Instead, Chen Dao offered him a seat. Why? Zartesh asked, his forearms trembling. We banished you. We tried to kill you. Because, Chen Dao said, revenge would make us like you were. We choose to be better. Your people are safe. Your children will grow up free. You can join our empire as equals, or you can stay isolated on this world. The choice is yours. Zartesh looked around. He saw humans and Korthax children playing together. He saw his soldiers being treated by human doctors. He saw what the galaxy could be without fear and hatred. What happened to you in the void? He asked. You were supposed to die. Chen Dao smiled. We did die. The humans you banished died. We were reborn as something better. The void taught us that survival requires unity. Evolution requires diversity. And strength? True strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. The news of Korthax Prime's evacuation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Council's greatest military power had been saved by the exiles they had tried to destroy. Support for the old Council collapsed overnight. Species after species declared their intention to join the United Empire of Exiles, not through conquest but through choice. The galaxy was choosing its future, and it was choosing the exiles. Emperor Chen Dao stood in the same spot where his great-great-grandfather had stood 120 years ago. The council chamber had not changed. The same platforms, the same lights, but everything else was different. Half the platforms were empty. The Korthax platform was dark. The Altarians had a new representative, one of the survivors from the genocide. Several species had sent new ambassadors, young ones who wanted change. But the biggest difference was the massive hologram in the center of the chamber. It showed the Liberation Fleet, 500,000 ships arranged in perfect formation around the council station. Each ship was a masterpiece of void technology. Together they could destroy the entire council fleet in minutes. But they had not fired a single shot. The criminal returns, the Prime said. The ancient tree being had survived all these years, watching empires rise and fall. You were banished. The punishment was eternal. Chen Dao smiled. He was 150 years old but stood straight and strong. Beside him stood the leaders of the United Empire, prism shifting between forms of impossible beauty, current of wisdom, floating in a sphere of water, Logic Prime, a machine mind in a perfect humanoid body, and Admiral Eva Petrov, representing the void-born humans. We were banished, Chen Dao agreed. You sent 20 billion humans to die in the void. But we did not die. We evolved, we grew. We found others you had cast out. Together we built something you could never imagine. You built weapons, the Prime said. You come here with force. We come with choice, Chen Dao corrected. In the past month we have saved 12 species from Korthax oppression. We evacuated 20 billion Korthax when their own weapon nearly destroyed them. We have brought food to starving worlds and medicine to plague colonies. We have not conquered a single planet. A young Velian representative spoke. But you could conquer us all. Your technology. It is beyond anything we have. Yes, Chen Dao said simply. We could take the galaxy by force. But that would make us no better than what the Korthax became. Instead, we offer partnership. Partnership? The Prime's voice held disbelief. You want to join the council that banished you? No, the old council is dead. It died when it chose fear over growth. We offer something new. The United Galaxy. No species rules over another. Decisions are made together. Technology is shared. The void gates connect all worlds instantly. No one is cast out for being different. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some ambassadors looked interested. Others looked terrified. And if we refuse? The Prime asked. Chen Dao gestured to the hologram. Then you are free to continue as you are. But our space is now from the void to the galaxy's edge. Any species that wants to join us is welcome. Any ship that enters our space for peaceful purposes is protected. And any attack on our citizens or allies will be met with force you cannot imagine. You threaten us. We inform you, Chen Dao said. The galaxy has changed whether you accept it or not. 200 species have already asked to join us. Your own colonies are declaring independence to seek our protection. You can work with us, or you can watch your council shrink until only this chamber remains. The session was interrupted by an emergency alert. A massive object was approaching the station. As it came closer, everyone gasped. It was Earth. The birthplace of humanity, the blue marble that had been abandoned, was moving through space surrounded by a void energy field. It emerged from the largest void gate ever created and took position near the council station. Chen Dao smiled at the shocked faces. We brought our home back. Earth is no longer just a planet. It is a ship, a symbol, a reminder that humanity always comes home, no matter how far we are cast out. On Earth, cities that had been empty for a century were alive again, but they were different. Towers of crystal and void metal reached toward the stars. Gardens grew with plants from 100 worlds. In the streets, humans walked alongside every exile species. The council watched broadcasts from Earth. They saw human and Korthax children playing together. They saw Shapers and Forgotten working side by side. They saw what the galaxy could become. This is impossible, the Prime said. Different species cannot live in harmony. It has never worked. It never worked because you never tried. Prism spoke, the Shaper's voice like music. You separated everyone, kept them afraid of each other. We united through shared struggle. We became family through survival. Current of wisdom added. The probability streams are clear. The old way leads to stagnation and death. The new way leads to growth and life. The choice is mathematics, not philosophy. Logic Prime presented data. In 120 years, the United Empire has developed more new technologies than the Council has in 1,000 years. We have cured diseases you called incurable. We have terraformed dead worlds you called useless. We have united species you called incompatible. The evidence supports our method. The session lasted for days. One by one, species declared their positions. The younger generations mostly chose to join the United Empire. The older powers resisted, clinging to the old ways. In the end, it did not matter. The momentum was unstoppable. Within a year, 3/4 of the galaxy had joined the United Empire of Exiles, which was renamed the United Galactic Empire. The Council still existed but controlled only a few core systems. The transformation was remarkable. Void gates connected every world. Technology flowed freely. Species that had been enemies for millennia became partners. The Korthax, humbled by their rescue, became some of the strongest supporters of unity. Admiral Zartesh, the Korthax who had tried to destroy humanity, stood before Chen Dao on New Eden. I was wrong, he said, all 4 arms spread in surrender. We feared you would destroy our way of life. Instead, you gave us a better one. Everyone makes mistakes, Chen Dao replied. What matters is learning from them. The Voidborn became the bridges between species. They could interface with forgotten technology, understand Shaper biology, calculate with Delphi precision, and still remain human at their core. They were living proof that evolution and identity could coexist. Earth became the symbolic capital of the new empire. Though the actual government was spread across thousands of worlds, humans did not rule. They facilitated. They connected. They united. In the old council chamber, now a museum, a new monument was built. It showed the moment of banishment. Ambassador Chen Wei standing alone against 27 species. But it also showed what came after. The exodus, the void, the return, the unity. Below it, words were carved in every known language. They banished us to the void. We returned with the stars. They feared we would conquer. We chose to liberate. They thought difference meant danger. We proved it meant strength. From exile comes empire. From unity comes eternity. Chen Dao lived to see the first graduation ceremony of the United Academy, where young beings from every species learned together. He saw the first mixed crews exploring galaxies beyond even the void. He saw the beginning of something that would last millions of years. On his deathbed at 200 years old, surrounded by humans, Shapers, Delphi, Forgotten, and even Korthax, he spoke his last words. We were banished by the Council. We forged an empire. We returned with an armada. But our greatest victory was not in our weapons or our technology. It was in proving that fear of change leads to death, while embracing it leads to life. We did not conquer the galaxy. We freed it. The funeral of Emperor Chen Dao was attended by trillions across thousands of worlds. But it was not a sad occasion. It was a celebration. Humanity had been tested and had not just survived, but thrived. They had turned banishment into blessing, exile into empire, fear into friendship. The last member of the old council, the Prime, attended the funeral. The ancient being had finally accepted the new reality. I was wrong, the Prime admitted to Admiral Eva Petrov, now the eldest human alive. We thought stability meant preventing change. But life is change. You humans taught us that. You took the worst punishment we could imagine and transformed it into the greatest gift the galaxy ever received. Eva smiled with her star-filled eyes. We are human. Adapting is what we do. Surviving is what we do. But more than that, bringing others with us as we rise. That is what makes us human. The story of humanity's banishment and return became legend. But it was more than just history. It was a promise. No matter how dark the void, no matter how far the exile, no matter how great the opposition, humanity would survive, grow, and return stronger than before. And they would never return alone. They would bring with them all those who had been cast out, forgotten or feared. Together they would build something better than what came before. The Council had banished humanity to make the galaxy safe. Instead, they had made the galaxy free. And in that freedom, among the stars and the void, humanity had finally found its true home. Not in one world or one galaxy, but everywhere brave souls dared to reach for something better.